awesome as I wanna be. Awesome as I wanna be. Awesome as I wanna be.
Hello everypony, I am Critical Thought and welcome to my review of 28 Pranks Later. This episode comes to us from a fresh new writer, DeMarco. Before MLP, he primarily wrote for the DreamWorks animation Dragon series, the Netflix original spin-off of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. However, my guess is that it wasn't this work that landed him with an opportunity to write for MLP, but instead his work on one of the Hub's other original launch shows, Littlest Pet Shop. He wasn't a writer on Littlest Pet Shop for very long, only contributing 5 episodes to that show, but I bet Hasbro felt pretty comfortable working with him, so they gave him a shot at this Season 6 episode. Now, I've never seen any of Mr. DeMarco's work for other shows since I'm not a very big DreamWorks Dragons fan and haven't cared for Littlest Pet Shop either, so I don't really have anything to compare this episode with. I can't even compare it to other MLP episodes he's written since there are none. This was his only contribution to the series, so I'm going in blind. Was this episode so bad that Hasbro had him fired, or was it actually a good one and Mr. DeMarco just didn't feel like continuing to write for the series? Let's find out. We kick off this episode with Fluttershy walking through the Everfree Forest at night after a picnic with her animal friends ran late. She tries to keep her cool and reassure them that everything is fine, but suddenly a scary creature with glowing pink eyes attacks her from the woods and she runs away in fear. However, it turns out that the mysterious monster was just Rainbow Dash pulling a prank on her poor friend, disguising herself with pieces of clouds and sticks.
That wasn't funny. You really scared me. I hope you're happy.
I think in this moment, Dashy is an even bigger jerk than Pinky was in the entirety of Philly Vanilli. Theme. The next day in Twilight's castle, Rainbow receives a stern talking to from Fluttershy and the rest of her friends about the prank she pulled the night before. Artie keeps trying to defend her actions, however, saying how every pony loves a good prank and that it's not a big deal. Just as Twi is trying to tell her that a prank is only funny if the victim finds it funny too.
That way.
Did we really just go there? A fart joke? You're supposed to be better than this, FIM. I know you're better than this. The fact that you pander to the lowest common denominator with this so-called joke is utterly shocking to me. I can think of a million different pranks you could have pulled on Twi here to still have a moment of comedy that didn't resort to, well, this. I hate to be such a prude that I get upset over a fart joke, but I can't help it. As a critic who is trying to treat this amazing show with the seriousness and respect it deserves, I'm left with no choice but to dock some enjoyability points for this. That was
funny. Not really.
Yeah, a whoopee cushion is like a joke shortcut.
A valiant attempt to recover, and I guess it softens the blow a little bit, but it's no get out of critic jail free card. Rainbow sort of misunderstands Twilight's lecture and thinks she's just trying to tell her to prank harder, so she targets Rarity next. When Sweetie Belle arrives in the Carousel Boutique workshop with her sister to see the finished product of her Philly Guide uniform that she will be using in the upcoming Philly Guide cookie drive, they both find the uniform on top of a big cake with a note that says, "You asked for this." Rarity quickly deduces that it's part of a prank by Rainbow and that the cake is likely booby-trapped somehow with the uniform acting as a trigger. She tries to make a new uniform instead so she doesn't fall for Dash's prank, but when she goes to use her sewing machine, she finds out that it's made of cake and Rainbow has herself a laugh. AJ tries taking some preventative measures later that night to keep Rainbow from pranking her in her sleep by rigging her entire bedroom with noise traps. But Rainbow is somehow still able to get inside and drag her bed out to the pig pen without waking her up, so she rolls over into the mud the next morning. We then get a montage of Dashy's continued pranking spree, victimizing the likes of Cranky Doodle, Spike, Celestia, Big Mac, Mr. Cake, and Cheerilee. Having had enough of Dashy's pranks, the other main four go to visit Pinky, who earlier was on Rainbow's side about what she did to Fluttershy, and ask for her help in getting Rainbow to stop pranking every pony.
Hey, Rainbow Dash! I have something very important to tell you! Pinky, hey, I actually have something totally important to tell you!
Damn, Dashy lives in a freaking mansion! Guess the Wonderbolts make some pretty good money. No wonder all the Pegasus ponies want to join. Pinkie attempts to begin the conversation about leaving everyone alone, but before she can, Dash offers her a cookie and says she has an idea about how to prank all of Ponyville at once by switching out all the Philly Guide cookies with joke cookies she ordered that leave a rainbow stain on your mouth when you bite into them. The next day, Rainbow heads to Sugar Cube Corner to see why Pinkie didn't show up to help with her prank, leaving her to do it all by herself. And she finds Pinkie bedridden and sickly looking, saying she doesn't feel well unless she's eating the joke cookies, and sadly, she has run out of them. Rainbow ultimately decides it's best to let Pinkie recover in bed and goes to continue with her prank. True to the CMC's word, they knock on every door in Ponyville trying to sell their cookies, apparently having a 100% success rate, probably making them some of the most successful Girl Scouts of all time. Rainbow keeps laughing harder and harder as the day goes on, thinking about how her prank is going to turn out, when she notices how quiet the town is later that evening. She tries to see if anyone is reacting to her prank, and while she does find some cookies half-eaten, she can't see any pony around. She tries to go see Pinkie Pie and ask about what is going on, starting to think that maybe the cookies made everyone sick like they seemingly did to Pinkie. That's when she stumbles upon Mrs. Cake in the kitchen.
Mrs. Cake! You! Have you seen Pinkie? I was thinking I might have something to do with her not feeling great. Mrs. Cake?
Ah! Undead sugar ponies! Yes, seemingly all the ponies in town that received Rainbow's joke cookies have turned into cookie-craving zombies. Dashie tries to go get help from Twilight and Spike, but they have turned as well. So has Fluttershy and her animal friends. Seemingly nowhere is safe, including Sweet Apple Acres, where Big Mac and Granny Smith have both become infected as well. The only ponies not yet infected are the CMC, Rarity, and AJ, who had just arrived at Carousel Boutique ready to spend the night. Artie finds them in time to stop them from eating the cookies, but they aren't out of danger yet. The zombie horde begins encroaching towards them, and they all run off looking for somewhere to hide.
Hey, Critical! Come here!
Ugh, what is it, Inner Fanboy?
You got some cookies Scooby gave me. They're amazing!
Oh, hell no!
Actually, maybe I shouldn't have eaten these. Cookies!
Nope, 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 nope! Okay, I think it's safe. Let's continue the review. Dashie, Applejack, Rarity, and the CMC eventually lose them and huddle up in a barn in Sweet Apple Acres, but they aren't safe for very long before the zombies of Ponyville attempt to break in. Dashie then admits her prank to her friends, but it's too late. They too have eaten the cookies and turned along with the CMC. The zombies manage to break down the door to the barn and corner Rainbow, who is scared out of her mind, admitting that the prank wasn't harmless and that it wasn't very funny.
Exactly! What?
Wait. Yes, the zombie horde was all a prank to give Dashie a taste of her own medicine. Pinkie Pie orchestrated the whole thing after Dashie revealed her plan to prank the whole town to her. Dashie finally realizes what she was putting every pony through with her pranks and how hurtful she was being. This is obviously the moral for the episode, that pranks are only fun if everyone involved enjoys them, and those that don't shouldn't be pranked. Dash apologizes, and we get one of the best reactions of Season 6 to close out the episode.
You ponies pulled off an amazing prank! I'll have to work extra hard to top it! Gotcha!
So, what did I think of 28 pranks later? I know the whole whoopee cushion thing really got on my nerves, and it is a pretty big blemish on this episode. But thankfully, FM DeMarco made up for it and then some with one of the most intense and terrifying plots I've seen in any TV Y7 rated show. Ever since Bridal Gossip in Season 1 and the casual mention of zombie ponies, I know many fans, including myself, wanted to see such a concept brought to the show, and Mr. DeMarco absolutely delivered. There wasn't much in the way of comedy other than the pranks Rainbow pulls, and you already know how I feel about one of them, but this episode wasn't trying to be a comedic one. I didn't really mention it in the review proper, but the background music was also really well done in this episode, especially in the third act when the zombie invasion really kicked off. Stephen Andrews and Will Anderson worked together to really drive home the tension and fear in these sequences. The animation was also top-notch. Not as much as some other episodes yet to come, but definitely better than average. Finally, that moral is a really specific one, but one I definitely think is important for both kids and adults to learn. In the end, I gotta go with a rewatch it rating. Even knowing the zombie horde is all a prank on subsequent viewings doesn't take away from the horror in the slightest, and it certainly has plenty of fun to experience over and over again. It's a shame that this was Mr. DeMarco's only contribution to FIM, as he would not write another episode, instead going on to write for the Netflix original series Spy Kids Mission Critical. I would have loved to see what he could do with these characters in later episodes. As always, I am Critical Thought, and I will see you all in my next video. Never stop thinking critically.